and welcome to today's segment of The Power of Money. I'm your host, Michelle Graves, affectionately known for over 40 years now as the Money Lady, and I am appreciative of your time today as I do what I consider one of the most amazing interviews. I am so excited to talk to this woman and to have her in the studio to share her vision and what she's been about and some of the things that she is doing moving into 2024 and further. I happened to be a guest at an opening event in Dayton that was every bit of New York transplanted. And I had such a ball. I mean, I met so many brilliant and amazing people. Yeah. And again, that was her vision. That's what she laid out. And I think it got a 5-star. I'm just thrilled. So without further ado, I'm not going to read all of this because this just goes on and on. Let's just say this. She's bad. Oh. She with that, okay? She with that. So, Ena Nearon, how are you?
Hey, thank you very much. That was absolutely amazing. I love it. Thank you.
I know you do. I know you do.
When we get together, we have fun.
We do. Your creativity and your spontaneity, it's just so refreshing out here in the Midwest.
Yeah.
It just is.
You think so, huh?
I do.
Yeah. I think you fall into it and you kind of get me going
okay,
there.
We're good. Good. Let's talk about you. Let's start this interview with you. Who are you? To a person that doesn't know you from Jack Sprat, tell us a little bit about yourself.
That's a big story.
I mean, know it is. That's why I'm
like,
I'm not reading all this.
Oh my gosh. I met you originally through the arts in Cincinnati.
Yes, you did.
Because I was managing the YWCA Women's Art Gallery downtown Cincinnati, and we had a very, very successful run down there. And you came in, and I met you along with some of the major artists there, Mary Barr Rhodes. Can I mention names?
Yeah, of course. These are women that are amazing.
Really wonderful, amazing women artists.
Now, I'm not an artist.
But you are always around that because you are a creative artist. You're creative in the way that you do things.
Yeah. With
a good, solid business, financial background. And I think that's very much in the art community, that's what's missing.
Well, we all bring who we are. And your industry of creativity and expression and spontaneity helps balance me out because I need that. I need to be around people with that energy and positivity. Finance is tough. Yeah. A lot of negativity and the world is not always about money. It's really about relationships.
Right.
Okay, so you all help me to become a greater person that I could be without you all. You need to know that. You're a blessing.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, Michelle. I kind of got into it by way of the theater in New York because I worked backstage off Broadway, some major shows. Don't Bother Me, I Can't Cope. I don't know if you remember
I do
that.
remember.
Yeah, and I kind of moved from there into the area of makeup application, and I got involved with the cosmetic industry. In working in cosmetics, I came along at a time when they were just beginning to introduce what they called ethnic cosmetics because there was nothing out there for women who were brown and darker skin toned.
Correct.
And so what happened was I had the wonderful opportunity to travel along the East Coast and down over into Texas and bring people together so that retailers could communicate with customers, customers could feel comfortable talking to retailers because they hadn't interacted before.
Right.
So my job was to not only introduce the line of products that Fashion Fair put out,
Is that
and
the company you were with?
Zuri
Okay.
International put out, but also to create an atmosphere where people would talk to one another and get to know one another, because makeup is a very personal thing. I enjoyed that thoroughly, and that laid the foundation for me to move on. I eventually moved to LA for a little while, well, actually Orange County, and I lived there for about 20 some years.
Oh, that's a long time.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I introduced, I got involved in doing hair. I went back to school, and in doing hair, I introduced a hair extension product.
Really?
Yeah, because that was when hair extensions, I've always seemed to have my hand on the pulse of what's coming along. My daughter always says, "Mommy, you're always just a little bit too early." But
Well, you're not too early now, because that's
yeah,
big
it's a
business.
big deal now.
Yeah.
But I had a really successful salon, and I introduced a product on the market called X10, and it was distributed nationally. And it was introduced at a higher pricing range, so it went into most of the really exclusive salons in the country. And but then my daughters grew up. I had two daughters, and they moved to the Midwest. And when they moved, they began to have children. They bought their homes, and so I wanted to be around my family.
I know that.
And so I relocated, and I bought a home down in Florence, Kentucky, and I lived there for about 17 years.
Across the bridge from Ohio.
Across the bridge
right
from
across the
Ohio.
bridge.
Yeah. And I worked a lot in downtown Cincinnati, and eventually got involved. I got involved in the music scene for a while. Marketing seems to be something that I do instinctively, because my goal is to encourage and promote people to become successful in what they do. I was very familiar with the media. I was very familiar with illustration and artwork.
Oh, wow.
You know, and so what I did was I got involved with the visual art scene in Cincinnati, and eventually became the manager and curator for the Women's Art Gallery at the YWCA in downtown Cincinnati.
Well, before you talk about that, because that's major, wasn't that the first time they'd ever done that?
They had introduced the gallery, but there was just a small contingent of artists that were showcasing in there, and it was unique to have a women's art gallery.
I think so.
You know, it just wasn't. It just wasn't something that the focus was on, because like everything else, you know, women's art was not promoted as effectively. So the Y was way ahead of its time.
I think it was.
Yeah, it really was. One of the things that I was able to bring to the table, and I'm very proud of this, is the fact that I brought in a wide, diverse range of artists in there, because I opened up that smaller contingency and began to bring in artists from different backgrounds and different cultures, and it allowed them to get the exposure that they needed, and it allowed the gallery to really begin to flourish. So we had really good, I was there for about maybe 3 years.
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was nice. I enjoyed that.
I enjoyed watching, and I'll tell you, for me, and let me just say to all of you all that may feel of a different opinion, this is America, you good, but I happen to like women artists.
Yeah.
I like the way they express.
Yeah.
And I will be honest, I have some favorite males. I like Cedric. He's great, but I see so much pent up creativity.
Yeah.
And it's just amazing.
Yeah, it's
And I started collecting.
Well,
I started buying.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
you have quite a collection.
I do, but there's always better.
There's
More.
well, now you have the National Women's Art Museum in Washington, D.C. now. It opened about 2 months ago, and I was asked to be on the Ohio Advisory Committee for that museum.
For that museum.
Yeah, and I'm really looking forward
That
to
is
doing some work with
nice.
that. Yeah.
Now I understand there's also a women's gallery in Chicago.
Yeah. There
Okay.
you're beginning to see more
Yeah,
of them
okay.
pop up.
Okay.
Art is becoming a lot, because of the internet too, art is now becoming a lot more available to people. They're beginning to get broader concepts and ideas. So it's growing, and that's a good thing. I'm involved in it at this point. I've relocated and bought and got a place here in Yellow Springs.
You're in Yellow Springs. Woo, woo, woo. Hippie town.
Yeah, I'm part hippie.
Me too.
You know, I got a suit and all, but
Yeah, well, I'm
part
definitely
hippie.
in that group.
Yeah, I love it. So I'm in Yellow Springs, and that's going to be my base of operations. That's
Wonderful.
yeah.
I went to Antioch. Wonderful.
They've embraced it very much. There's plenty of room for the art scene to grow in Yellow Springs too.
Well, at your event, the mayor of Yellow Springs was.
Yeah,
You had
Mayor
a
Pam.
large number of people at that opening.
They were very
From
supportive.
Yellow Springs, Ohio.
Yeah, they were very supportive. Well, actually, we had a lot of people from Cincinnati. We had people there from Cleveland. We had people there from Columbus. We had a good range of folks.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
I could not believe the art and the women, and getting a chance to talk to them and engage in the process. And then the food from that New York caterer.
Yeah, food stylist.
Oh my gosh,
Janice
the food
Gary.
stylist. Oh my gosh. When she started putting things together, I said, "You have got to be from New York."
Yeah, she was. She
And
was a food stylist
yeah,
in New York.
she said, "How did you?" I said, the energy. She was moving things, and it was looking better and better, and then the food.
Yeah, it was delicious.
And I was just like, oh my words. I enjoyed myself
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah,
It was great fun.
You know what was interesting? The word that people used to describe that particular event was magical.
It was.
Yeah, I like that.
It was.
That felt good.
It was, for those of you that are uncomfortable or intimidated, let me just cut through this. You've got to go to one of her openings. No, I'm gonna publicize it.
Yeah, you do.
You gotta go. You need to go. You need to get comfortable with breaking out of your mind.
Yeah.
And when I say that, a lot of people have said to me over the years, well, I can get art at a certain retail store. So I told them, you got to be kidding me. That is not
Not the
art.
same.
That's not art.
That's
That's
decor.
decor.
Yeah.
Art is where the artist has put their energy and even their spirit
Yeah, that's true.
into the art itself. You can feel it. You can sit there, and if you'll allow yourself to break through your limitations and just feel it, you will be absolutely amazed.
I will give you a perfect example of that. And it's kind of harsh in a way, but at the same time, it represents exactly what you said. I saw where an artist was publishing online, and what they did was they set up a list. You know when you go into a Hallmark store and they have cards?
Yeah.
Okay, so they had a display of cards. They were all done in black and white. The topic of the cards, they were designed to send to families and of children who had been shot in the school system.
Oh my God.
And I know that causes you to feel something, right?
Yeah,
that's
it does.
the purpose of art.
Yeah.
The purpose of art, and that's hard to feel, but it brings home the fact that we have accepted that this is a reality.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes, I know.
So that's my feeling about art too. I feel that because at the Y I was able to deal with themes that were difficult for women, raising families as single parents, you know, rape, being taken across state lines. All of those issues were displayed in many of the artists' work there.
Right.
And On the other side, of course, there's the beauty of it. There is that creativity. One of the artists that was at the show that you were at was from Chile. Her name is Trinidad McAuliffe.
Oh, I loved her
Yeah,
work.
yeah, her work.
Oh, she's
is
national.
Vibrant.
Oh, vibrant.
Vibrant.
And
Very
to talk
vibrant.
to her, oh my goodness gracious, to
Yeah.
get inside of what was in you that showed up like that.
Well, look at Tracy Casagrande Clancy. She had those sculptures.
Oh,
Tracy works with people who are in hospice and families who are losing people, and she translates that information or through her art. That's how she releases. So the purpose of art to me is to create an environment where various types of people can come together, mix with other people, and come to understand things and feelings that they ordinarily would not have touched.
and it's in a safe place.
Right.
I mean, it's perfectly okay to just strike up a conversation with
Yeah.
anybody
Yeah, yeah.
because of the commonality of that culture.
Right. You know what's interesting? Who brought that really home for me was the woman. She was a woman. She was the executive director for the VA hospital in Cincinnati, and she and her husband were looking at a piece of art, and it was done by a woman who was homeless, but she, older black woman who was pretty much living from friend to friend's house. And it was a very strong piece of work. And she looked at that and she began to talk about it. And she said, you know what? What I like about this this whole gallery exhibit is you bring people together here that I would never have interacted with.
That's what I found so fascinating about you. And that's why I wanted you on this television show, because the world of art is phenomenally healing.
It is.
I can get, I mean, people say, why do you collect art? I said, because when I walk in my home, as one of my associates, who's not been invited back, said, this is a museum.
I know.
I was like, oh, what?
It is.
And she said, oh my God.
Yeah.
And I said, when I walk in my home after a long and stressful day, I am greeted by beautiful music,
Yeah.
which is a must.
Yeah.
And then I am surrounded by all of this beautiful energy.
Yeah.
Every place I look, it's beautiful. And for me, that allows me to get through the day, is knowing I'm coming home to this piece of paradise.
Yeah, yeah. It's very hard to come to empty walls for me now.
Oh,
Oh God.
yeah. And then to say, well, I've had one person say, well, I guess I'm not ready yet. I said, what do you mean? She said, well, what does this mean to you? And I said, it's a feeling. It's a feeling. I have a piece of art there that has, it's an abstract art from a German artist, and it shows nymphs dancing. But you got to feel it before you see it.
Yeah.
And and that's why I got it, because initially it just looked like pictures. But as I began to look at the movement,
Yeah.
then I said, oh, this is nice. This is very nice.
Yeah. There are other benefits to attending art exhibits as well, because you do begin to learn about shape and color and texture.
Yes.
You do begin to meet people who, and it, it used to be that people had an attitude, you go to an art exhibit, it was very elitist, and, well, I don't have that kind of influence or money or whatever, so that I don't belong there. But that's not true anymore. it's been an enjoyable road to travel for me. And now what I'm doing is I introduce my company, 10 Talents Network.
Okay.
And basically 10 Talents takes all of the opportunities and skills that I've come to embrace over time in the art field and puts them at the disposal of artists that I take under my wing, so to speak, or that it allows me to conduct and create exhibitions that bring out artists and expose them who have not been typically well known. And it also allows me, I'm getting ready to do something along the lines of your area, which is to be able to put together a podcast out of Yellow Springs, where I interview artists and talk.
I think that'll be great.
I'm excited about that.
I think that'll be absolutely great, because people need to know that world.
Yeah.
They do, and they don't need to be intimidated by it.
Well, the other thing too is like there's an artist in Yellow Springs, and I've had the opportunity to listen to her communicate, and she I mean, I just want to follow her around and listen to her talk, because that's where she operates, that's where she lives, you know, and it makes sense, and it's deep, and it's, you know, I mean, I can't help but grow as a result of it. You know who? Migiwa Orima.
Okay, I don't know. I haven't met.
Beautiful,
haven't
beautiful.
Met her. Indian?
She's actually from Asia, and she lives in Yellow Springs, and her art is being shown internationally, and she is one unbelievable woman. Yeah, I love it. I love it. But you know, this is all part of getting into that whole circle. I can also complement with the artists that I work with. I can complement what businesses are doing by hosting exhibits in their space. I can complement what nonprofit organizations are doing by bringing in the kinds of artists that speak to, with their art, what that nonprofit is all about.
Oh, it's very exciting.
Yeah, so there's a lot of possibilities, and I'm excited about what's getting ready to open up and come down the road.
So let me ask you a question, because you sit in the catbird seat of determining who gets a place and who does not. Is there such a thing as bad art?
I think one of the unique things about being a creative person is you're not sitting in a judgment place. What you are doing is identifying what you like and what you relate to.
Okay.
Because I've seen work that is basically stick figures, but the message that it relays is significant. So, you know, there are different mediums, there are different types of art. Portrait art versus landscape art versus abstract art, you know. And to some people, I have a huge piece by Robert O'Neill in my house that was a change for him from his traditional portrait art that he was doing.
Because that's what he does.
Yeah, and I love it. I can sit there and watch and look at it's abstract, very abstract, vivid colors. And I can sit there and see so much of Robert in the work that he did, you know.
That sounds absolutely fascinating.
Yeah.
But I find the fact that the human brain has that creative component, and yet so many people are unfamiliar with it, don't know how to tap into it.
That's, you know why, and I'll tell you something.
Tell me why.
That's the limit that we have, you know, we've put this title. Well, people will say, I'm not an artist.
No.
Everybody is an artist. It's whether or not you choose to embrace that creative aspect of who you are. When they say, I'm not an artist, I think what they're thinking about is, I'm not a professional who's on the market, you know. But like the young man that I had in the show that you came to, Cale Walker, he has a whole house filled with all of art everywhere you look. I mean, there are mannequins filled with clothing art, and then there's paintings and all of that fills his house. And for the longest time, he would never show that to anybody because he did not consider himself to be an artist. The reality is, once he took it out of the house, put it into another space,
Right.
the response that he got to it made all the difference and has freed him up to be able to
Oh my
see
words!
that. Yeah. So
He on the at that facility? Was he the one on the ground floor?
yes.
That was amazing.
Yeah, that's something as simple as that banana piece.
Oh my!
that he did.
Yeah. I just
Yeah.
was absolutely amazed.
Yeah, it
But you're quite right. I think all human beings reflect the creativity of God Himself, and it's in us. But
That's true.
if you keep it contained, then you go nowhere.
Well, that, it follows suit that as human beings, we tend to want to take things and put them in boxes
Yeah,
so that we can
yeah.
control them.
And kill the
And that's
spirit.
why artists, to many people, are considered strange folk. But, it's not. What they've done is they stepped outside the box and said, this is who I am. And so I don't feel like going left. I think I'll go right.
Right,
You know.
right.
And,
Well,
and
I
that's
will
okay.
tell you myself, because people are always telling me about my dress, but that is my artistic expression.
That is very,
it really is.
Very much so.
To be able to mix colors and see how things look, and it's quite satisfying. And I just got that. I finally I said, wow, I'm always moving colors and doing this and that with clothing
And fabric.
and fabrics, and
Yeah.
I feel fabrics and like what I feel. Now, and I know with your industry, people call that, what is that technique where they have different fabrics and art?
Fabric art.
Yeah,
It's
is that fabric art? Oh
Yeah.
my goodness.
Some awesome fabric artists that I've been working with down in Cincinnati.
So how does that work?
Well, I mean, I've had fabric artists who've taken furniture and been creative with the covers that they
Oh my
built.
gosh.
Yeah, yeah. And then Gabrielle, oh gosh, Gabrielle's going to kill me because I'm bad with names, but she does beautiful work with fabrics and different prints on furniture. Then you have fabric artists who take yarns and mix different types of textures of fabric and yarns and threads and leather, different types of mediums,
Yeah,
and
okay.
put them all together, So I mean, it's really, there's no limit to it. It's what you choose to do with it.
I think that is where many of us are challenged, because you have to let go of everything you thought was correct.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I say this because I had an opportunity to be in the studio with Mary Barr Rhodes on a particular piece of art I had commissioned. But she does all kinds of things with crystals
Right.
and stones, and to me it was like,
Beautiful.
what in the world?
Yeah.
How does that work? And the finished product, that came out of your head?
Yes.
And she was like, you have to feel it.
You have to pull- yeah, you have to
play.
relax and
You have
enjoy
to
it.
just
Yeah.
enjoy it. And I said, I'm jealous because you all get to be able to create on a deep, visceral level on paper and on mediums what you are, who you are and what you're doing, and that is so amazing to me.
Yeah, and it takes a special person who is then able to put that out in the public and let somebody else judge it.
That is where you come in.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the business side of it. How do artists make money?
Well, I mean, they need to show their work. They need to have their work seen by people who are in a position to either love it and want to take it home, or who are willing to support their efforts. I
Okay.
mean, you have collectors of specific artists who have collectors that do nothing but purchase the new pieces that they release.
Wow.
Like you're a
Yeah,
collector
I
of
am.
Mary Barr Rhodes'
I
work.
am. I am.
And
But I'm now branching into some other stuff. She is a phenomenal artist, but there are others, and I'm just, it's endless.
Yeah, it is, and that's something you have to learn too. That it's not limited. One time, I took a whole wall, and I'm not a traditional artist in the sense that I create art on the wall, and I took a whole wall and I put up. I put a canvas across this wall. It was like 8 feet by 8 feet because I was trying to think, well, what am I going to do with this wall? So I built a frame underneath of it, put this canvas across
Yes.
it, and then I didn't know where to start because it was so big and I had
Yes.
so much freedom, and I was afraid that I was going to do something wrong.
Right.
And so I called a friend of mine, Dan Houston. He's out of Florida. And I said, Danny, I don't know where to start. And he said, well, you can always erase it. You can always paint over it. You can always color it, do something different with it. And that was almost overwhelming for me to grasp. So this is the thing that artists deal with. I mean, they have to.
I guess you can paint it.
Yeah, you can get over it. You can change it. Yeah. See, we got this normal thing in our head about this is the way it's supposed to look if it's gonna be art. You know, it's not, and that's scary.
It is scary.
It can be scary.
I think you're right.
You know what was really beautiful about the show that you attended? It was the blending of the space. It was at the Wilderness Agency over on Front Street, which is an artist enclave of studios. But this was a 2-story studio owned by the founder of the Wilderness Agency.
A very Renaissance man.
Yes, and it was, yes.
Oh my God.
And it had the artists that I chose to bring in there. They work so well in that environment. That's why you got the energy that you got.
Wow.
Because it was a combination not just of the artists putting work out there, but it was the environment that they put it out there in. And then you back that up with music and food, and people respond to that and they enjoy themselves.
And he was amazing.
Yeah, he's
I mean, I looked at how the art just filtered in with the plants. He said he had over 300 tropical plants.
Yeah.
And they were all happy.
Yeah, they were.
They were. You could feel. Oh yeah. By the way, people, if your plants are dying, don't invite me to come to visit because they telling a story on you.
Oh my gosh.
They're like, what happened to my plant?
Yeah.
I'm like,
yeah.
Right.
It's a personal thing. I was having a conversation with my partner about the fact that plants are living creatures, so to speak.
Yes, they are.
You know, different than humans and bugs and or insects, but they are living, and they have a way of creating a space where they protect their area. Yes. They respond to emotions and energy that goes on around them.
Yes.
And again, that's an art too, to be able to be sensitive to that.
Well, I tell you, my plants in my home are huge. And I started them off as little babies, but to look at them today, you're like, what the heck? And I saw some of the most incredible plants at his home for your.
Oh yeah.
And I told him, everything in here is happy.
Yeah.
The pythos were the size you would see literally in their original homes. Huge leaves, huge.
Yeah.
But that was just.
Wait till you see the. I'm trying to get. Artist out of Cincinnati, originally from Louisville, G. Horton. I'm trying to get him to come up and do they have a garden in the back of that warehouse that I want to be able to showcase in.
Art or?
Art is art, but I want it to contrast and blend with the type of work that the artist does. So, and I just, I hope G doesn't get upset with me, but I just threw his name out there. But I was really excited about the possibility because his work is self, evolved. He taught himself how to create that. He was not formally trained to be an
Oh my
artist.
goodness.
No.
So what separates his work from a formally trained artist?
It seems to me, this is just me, it feels like sometimes there's more thought and structure around it. And that's not to say that self-taught artists are not structured. That's to say that there are certain elements that a trained artist brings into to play with that perhaps someone who's self-taught may not have experienced. And so you can see some of that difference. But sometimes you can't tell the difference.
Really?
Really.
Wow. That's amazing.
Sometimes you can't tell the difference.
That's amazing. So tell me, what is your vision for 10 Talents Network?
Well, I want to really thoroughly reach out into the region. I want to be able to make it possible for artists to be seen and to function and work with various scenarios and environments that they haven't typically been in. I want to be able to expose artists to the world and to the public. That's what I can. I'm at the stage in my life where what I want to do then becomes. I want to bring others into the forefront.
Right.
And the gifts that I've been given, plus the experiences that I've had, will allow me to do that. And that's what 10 Talents is all about.
So how does that work? Do you find the artist, or if an artist is looking at us and she does not have a lot of recognition, tell me the process. How does this work?
Well, I mean, most of the time what happens is I have a really large network of artists that I've been blessed to meet and work with because of shows that I've done. But many times it can happen a lot of different ways. Sometimes people will say to me, have you seen so-and-so's work? And then I'll take a look at it. Or I have a particular show in mind that I'm trying to create.
Right.
And then I know artists who produce certain types of certain types of mediums, and then I will reach out to them and see if they'll participate. Sometimes it's a very spiritual thing. People just become right there. They just show up.
They just show up.
They show up.
Oh, wow.
I mean, if you were to know how the exhibit that we did up at the Wilderness Agency came about with Cale, I met him standing in front of the Emporium in Yellow Springs. He was getting ready to get in the car. We struck up a conversation. He said, well, I've got some art in the trunk of my car. I went and looked at the art in the trunk of his car, and I said, you're a pretty good artist.
Yeah.
And then he said, and then he invited me to come down and see the Wilderness Agency. I went down there and looked at it. I was so overwhelmed I couldn't sleep that night.
Oh my gosh.
And so then we, in about 2.5 months, we put together that whole thing.
Yeah. That was profound.
It was fun.
Well, I'm just telling you, for me, I got there super early because I don't like to be lost. And it turned out perfectly because I didn't have a lot of people at that time. It got real busy, but I was able to talk to people and meet the owner and look at the placement. Now, is that what you do as a curator? You determine where art is going to be placed?
Yeah, I hang it. I prepare the artist for the exhibit because typically I have a theme of some sort.
Okay.
So we talk about that, and of course the theme was Carl Jung's Anima and Animus of philosophy, and it's like creating a story and a vision, and some of that stuff is revealed in the course of time, and some of it, I walk into the door. When I first thought about having the exhibit, I didn't know exactly what or who or how I was going to do it, but then it's like taking a vision, it's like telling a story.
Okay.
And it just kind of comes, so it's intuitive in that respect. That's why I know that I'm on the right track.
Oh no, I would have to say to you that the expression of creativity and art is desperately needed right now.
Yeah, yeah.
People are hurting.
Yeah.
And they don't know how to find their way. And I'll tell you, you can get lost in that stuff.
Yeah, you can. I was actually in a meeting yesterday at the Yellow Springs News, and a gentleman was there who initiated a nonprofit program called the World Cafe. And the World Cafe functions as a bridge that brings people together and gets them to sit around the table, and in a big room with several tables, and then they switch tables. And when they when they sit around the table, they're discussing either particular item that has created separateness and dysfunction in the community.
Wow.
So he brings mediation techniques to the table and allows people to participate and shows them how to communicate with people they disagree with. Well, we got to talking about collaborating and doing it in the realm of art and conversation. You see where I'm going?
I do see where you're going.
So
I think
it has a tremendous amount of potential.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I do know that in Germany in World War II, one of the things that Adolf Hitler did was he removed the art.
Yes.
And the artists.
Because artists think outside the box, and they have to creative people who have gotten really free, they can't function without expressing themselves.
And he was some of the art he felt was personal. And I said he looked at that and came to conclusions without an understanding of where it was coming from. But I found it very interesting that they took all of the art
and the books
out of there, the things that human beings need
to stimulate
their thinking.
Yeah.
And I find it fascinating myself to ask people when they're looking at a piece of art in my house, and I tell them, what does that do to you? Yeah. And initially they'll be like, nothing. I said, well, you need to stay there a little bit longer. Nothing. No, you need to stay there. I'll be back in about 40 minutes.
Yeah,
see
right.
How you're doing.
See what you're thinking about.
And see what you're thinking about. And believe it or not, every situation where that has happened, they began to see, and children especially, children just gravitate, and they're there.
You know what's really sad is we've become a society that says that you have to have an education in order to be a good human being or a fulfilled human being, or you have, not to say that education is not necessary, but to say that many times formal education has a tendency to box you in and say this is the way you do things. And the beautiful thing about being free of that is that the society continues to grow and expand. The purpose of art education is not to teach people how to paint. The purpose of art education is to teach people how to be problem solvers, to teach people how to look at things from different perspectives, to teach people how to express themselves, to let go of their fears. There's so much involved in the creative process that helps human beings to become the best people that they can become. And we, in many cases, have locked people out of that because we want to control it and we want to do a business with it. Business is structured, you know, but art and creativity has to flow outside of that. It's a whole different mindset.
It is. It is. But I would like to see artists, and this is your role, in my opinion, illuminated. I would like to see their work exposed in all kinds of venues, and I would also like them to get paid.
Yeah, well.
Because one person said, I'm not paying that for that art. And I'm like, well, you get paid every day.
Yeah.
When you go to work, you get paid X number of dollars for X number of hours. And if it's more than that, then good, but you certainly would not want them to think that you're doing a job free.
Yeah, and you're not just paying for that piece of art. You're paying for the time, the energy, the learning that the person put in to develop that piece.
Right, right.
So you know, and it's so unique if it's an original in particular. It's not like anything else that anybody
Well, that's
else,
just what
you know.
what I'm most concerned about. I just want people to express themselves and to be their best selves. And I do not believe you will be free if you're in bondage.
Yeah, and you can be in bondage if you can't earn a living.
You're correct.
Yes.
And that's one of my things with you, which is
Yeah.
I have no issue with them being paid.
No, it's you know, if a person is not willing to pay, is goes in and questions the price of something, then they can't afford it, or
I agree.
they shouldn't
I
have
agree.
it. I've had artists who've actually decided that they won't sell a piece to someone because the person is questioning their integrity. I think that if you cannot, it's like anything else, if you cannot afford it, then perhaps you need to move to a space where you can find something that you can afford.
Right.
I definitely am all about artists being paid for what
Oh,
they,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
for their work.
So if they want to, I'm just putting this out here, if an artist wants to talk to you about their work, how do they reach you?
Well, they can reach me at my website, which is 10-talents-network.com.
Okay.
That's number one. Number two is they can reach me via text, not text, but email is probably better.
Okay.
At 10talentsnetwork@gmail.com.
Okay. .com.
And then they could probably go downtown Yellow Springs and talk to somebody down there and say, "Do you know Ena Nearon?" Because I'm always down at the Emporium. No. It's a good space to be, and I have most of my interactions with people right there in the downtown.
In that environment.
So,
Well, I'd like to, in the remaining time we have, I would like to show our audience a very short video that, we definitely, that's excellent. And I want to, as he's showing it, I just want you to talk about it as he's showing it.
I'm hoping that it will express itself and you'll get the energy from it.
I did.
Yeah.
I said, "Oh, we're gonna show this." So then, can you turn it on, and we will conclude today's show.
Yeah, this is
with
what 10 Talents Network
10
is
Talents
about.
Network. Okay.
Different shows that we've done.
Yes. Okay.
People who've been very much a part of the shows that we've done. This was the preparation.
Okay. That's the preparation
See
for
how we
that.
sat around with the artists?
Yes. Yes.
And this is the day of the event.
Oh my God. She was interesting.
Yeah, Ursula.
Yeah. Ah. I loved her work. Deborah Dixon. Yes.
It was the night before.
Oh, that was the night before you all were
Taking
partying.
pictures.
Yes, okay.
Yeah. That's the food
Oh, yeah.
This is one of the serious spot patrons of the arts. Different shows.
Oh, I can't wait till your next one.
That was an award ceremony.
Okay.
Wonderful.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Ena, this was phenomenal.
I enjoyed this.
Did you?
I really
enjoyed
did.
it. I enjoyed having you here. And again, can you give a phone number for someone to follow up with you, please?
859-360-4955. And if you'll text me, you'll get a faster response.
I agree. Emails have become burdensome.
Yeah.
I got too many of them. I can't get rid of them. But we've enjoyed this interview with Ena Nearon, who is the CEO of 10 Talents Network, curating artists and exhibits, and a phenomenal woman. And may I encourage all of you, if you've not thought about the world of art, it doesn't start at your retail stores, and it doesn't start on Amazon either. It starts by you attending some of these gallery openings and talking to the people.
First Fridays.
And then they have Final Fridays in Cincinnati at the Pendleton. And just freeing yourself to engage in something you may never have thought about, ever. It doesn't mean you're better, but it does mean you're cultured.
It means that you're going to expand. And
Yes.
also keep an eye out for the Art Crawl, which is going to be my video podcast.
Oh, good. Okay. Then we will do that. Again, I appreciate everyone tuning in and watching as we explored the world of art and what is involved. And again, 2024, I challenge you to grow your brain and do some other things and expand. You'd be amazed at how the world looks from another perspective. But in closing out today's segment of The Power of Money, I'm your host, Michelle Graves, who is affectionately known for, 40 years now, and is the Money Lady. And I'm taking you into the world of Ena M. Nearon. And I thank you, Ena, for being a part of our show. Give me a shake.
What a blessing.
I know. I love you so much.
Oh, man.
You're so amazing.
Thank you, lady.
We'll talk soon. Take care of yourselves. And see you around. God bless you. Bye-bye.